So we're now going to go ahead and look at the next lesson, lesson 5.02, finding the equation of an inverse function. So we're going to begin this lesson with a warm-up. It's a guess my number game, all right? So I'm going to give you guys some hints, and like the name says, your goal is to guess my number. So if your cell phone is out, please put it away so you can hear and pay attention to what I need to tell you. All right, are you guys ready? Give me a thumbs up when you guys are ready. Back tables, are we ready? We good? All right, listen closely, okay? Here's the first one. I'm going to make it easy. I am thinking of a number that when I multiply by 2 and add 3, I get 11. Don't say it out loud. Hold on. I'm thinking of a number that when I multiply by 2 and add 3, I get 11. In that first box, you're going to write out whatever process you want to do. If you want to write the steps out, if you want to use algebra, whatever you want to do. I know. All right, I'm going to give you about 15 seconds to come up with a number that you think is my number, and then I'll have you guys share out. Hold on. I'll say it one last time. Thinking of a number that when you double it and add 3, you get 11. Now, raising your hand, who thinks they have my number? Posada. 4. That is correct. 4 doubled is 8, right? Now, if I did it like this, I'm thinking of a number x times 2 plus 3 is 11. If you solve backwards, you get x equals 4. All right? Okay, that one was a little easy. Let me give you a more challenging one. Ready? All right, listen closely. This one's a lot of steps. I am thinking of a number that when you add 3 and then divide by 2 and then you cube it, you get 8. Once again, I am thinking of a number when you add 3, divide by 2, and then you cube it, it equals 8. So let me give you some time to think, all right? No, plus 3. You add 3, divide by 2, raise it to the third power, you get 8. Okay. Question? Oh, you think it's 1? What do you think? You think it's 5? You think it's yeah? 1? Okay, let's write the steps out. Ready? So, I said I'm thinking of a number x, that when you add 3, so that's x plus 3, divide by 2, and then you cube it, you get 8. If x is really 1, we would do the following. 1 plus 3 is 4. Half of 4 is 2. And 2 times 2 times 2 is equal to 8. So yes, you are correct. X equals 1. Very good. All right, how many of you guys got that? Okay, not that many. Not that many. Okay, only half of you. All right. I want to give you enough time to think. All right, so if you do get the answer before everyone else, do not tell other people. Just wait until I have given everyone enough time to think for themselves. Okay. Here is the next one. Listen closely. It's a big number. I'm thinking of a number that when you subtract 1, divide by 3, take the cube root, you get 3. Okay? I'm going to say that again. I am thinking of a number that when you subtract 1, divide by 3, take the cube root, you get 3. So take some time to think about it. Do not say the answer. Okay. Samara, what is the answer? 82 is correct. Give me a thumbs up if you got 82 as your answer as well. No? 28? Okay. So think about the steps that I gave you guys. I said I am thinking of a number that when I subtract 1, divide by 3, take the cube root, I get 3. 82 minus 1 is 81. 81 divided by 3 is 27. And the cube root of 27 is 3. Okay, here's the last one, all right? I am thinking of a number that when I square this number, multiply it by -4, and add 8, I get -8. What? It's easy. Once again, I'm thinking of a number that when you square it, multiply it by -4, and add 8, I get -8. Write the steps down. If you think you have it, just show me with your fingers what you think the answer is. Taya, what do we think? Okay. Oh, yeah, we got it. Thank you, kid. Okay. All right, the correct answer is 2. Think about what I told you. I'm thinking of a number that when you square it, multiply it by -4, and add 8, I get -8. In this case, 2 squared is 4. 4 times -4 is -16. -16 plus 8 is -8. All right. So I'm not sure what thought process each of you guys had, but there are multiple ways of trying to figure out what number I had in mind, right? You could have worked backwards, gone from the last step that I gave you. So if I said something like I multiplied by 2 and then I added 3, you're going to think of a number that when you subtract 3 and then divide by 2, you get back to what you started with, right? Because ultimately, I am giving you the answer. So I am giving you a way to work backwards, which is what I wanted you guys to do in this case. So this warm-up is going to set us up nicely for the guided notes, because to find the equation, the inverse equation of a function, you have to work backwards essentially, right? So let's go ahead and look at the guided notes, and we're going to fill this out together, all right? Okay. Now it says let f of x be the function that takes in the input and does the following. The first step that we are doing here is we are going to subtract 4 from the input. Now, since we don't have a specific value, we don't have a specific number, we're going to leave this in terms of x. So I have x, and then step 1 is to subtract 4 from x. So you're going to have x minus 4. That's your first part. By the way, this is f of x here. So f of x equals x minus 4. Step 2 is to divide this by 2. So that's x minus 4 over 2. And then the last step is to raise all of this to the third power. So f of x we can write as this expression that is written right here. F of x equals x minus 4 over 2 to the third power. Okay? All right. I don't want to go too fast, so if I'm going too fast, please slow me down. But when we come up with the inverse, you're going to repeat the steps doing the opposite operation, and then going from like the last step, working your way up. So we're going to start with step number 3. Step number 3 was to raise everything to the third power. What is the opposite of cubing something? Not square root. Cube root. So step 1 is actually going to be to take the cube root. So we're going to take the cube root of x. That is step number 1. Okay. Step number 2 is to divide by 2. What is the inverse? What is the opposite of dividing by 2? Multiplying by 2. So step 2 is to multiply by 2. All right. We're going to multiply this by 2. That means you're going to write a 2 in the front. Let me erase this. So you have 2 cube root of x. Okay, what's the last step? We go back to the first step of the entire problem. Subtract 4. What's the inverse of subtracting 4? Add 4. So we go ahead and add 4. We get f inverse of x is equal to 2 cube root of x plus 4. Got it? Okay. All right. And that is essentially how you find the inverse of an equation. In the next 2 examples, we are going to write the steps for the original function and then take that list of steps and invert them so that we have our inverse. So let's go ahead and jump into that. I want everyone looking at example A. F of x equals 4x minus 1 to the 5th power plus 7. I need you guys to do the following. You're going to make a table and title that f of x. Under this table, f of x is where we will write the steps. So look at where x is. If I were to plug something in place of x, my first step would be to do what? To subtract 1. So your first step here, you're going to write here, is going to be box minus 1. There's a reason why we're using a box. And the reason why we're using a box is because this box is going to signify, like, it's going to represent the, what's up, man? It's going to represent the result from the previous step. Okay? So, first step is box minus 1. Second step would be to do what? So, right here we're following PEMDAS, by the way. So, we do x minus 1, and then what's the next step after that? Look at the exponent. What's the exponent? To the 5th power, right? So, we're going to go ahead and, once again, like I told you, the box represents the last step. So, the box here in step 2 represents what you did in step 1. That's going to be box to the 5th. Then we're going to keep going, all right? Step 3. Multiply by 4. So we're going to do 4 parentheses box, where the box represents what we did in step 2. Make sense? And then we'll finalize this by going to the last step, which is to add what? Add 7. So it's going to be box plus 7. Okay? So you need to make this table so that you know how to go about making the inverse table. Right? You cannot make the inverse table unless you have the original steps first. So we go ahead and write out, f inverse of x. And just like I showed you guys in the notes, you're going to start with the last step, and that's going to be your first step starting here. So if the last step was a plus 7, what's the opposite of plus 7? Minus 7. So it'll be box minus 7. The step before that was to multiply by 4. So What is the opposite of multiplying by 4? Divided by 4. That's box over 4. All right. The step before that was to raise to the 5th power. So instead of raising to the 5th power, we're going to do what? We're going to take the root. The root of what power?
5.
The root of 5 or the 5th root. We say the 5th root of, in this case, the box. So you're going to write a 5, and then the radical sign, and then the box inside of it. So it's the 5th root of the box. And then we have the very last step, which was actually what we started with. Box minus 1. The opposite of minus 1 is to do what? It's to add 1. So box plus 1. Now, at this point, we can actually write the inverse. We're going to take these steps, and we're going to replace the box here in step number 1 with an x. And then every subsequent step from that point, the box will be the previous line, basically. So let me show you what that looks like. All right. So like I said, we're going to do step 1 from the inverse table. Step 1, we replace the box with an x. So that's x minus 7. Right, x minus 7. And then we're going to replace that box with the x minus 7. So that's going to be x minus 7 over 4. X minus 7 over 4. And then this box we replace with what we have already. So that's going to be the 5th root of x minus 7 over 4. 5th root of x minus 7 over 4. And then we're going to finalize by adding 1 to the very end. Okay? Plus 1. Let me get rid of this. This is white. Okay. And we're going to write f inverse of x in front of all this. All right? That right there is the inverse equation for this example. So what I'm going to have you do in the next few minutes is you're going to go ahead and do the same steps for the next example. All right? Okay, so let's go ahead and check in. So we're going to begin by making the f of x table. All right? I'm going to have some of you guys help me out here. So I'm going to randomly call on you to help me out. Let me get my cards. All right. Let me hear from Santi. What is step number 1 of the original? Box plus 6. Step number 2. Coco, what is step number 2? So after we do x plus 6, we need to do the 4th root. So that's going to be 4th root of what? What goes inside the radical, Coco? Box. 4th root of the box. Okay, what's after that? Justin, what's after that? What? No, of the original. By what's in front of negative 3. So negative 3 times the box. Final step is going to be the following. Box minus 2. All right. Here goes the inverse. Ready? Step 1. What is step 1 of the inverse? Teo, what is step 1 of the inverse? Box plus 2. Step 2 of the inverse. Mena, step 2 of the inverse. Box over negative 3. Step 3 of the inverse. Eugenia. So what's the opposite of the 4th root? Think of like exponents. To the 4th power, so box to the 4th. And then the very last step, step 4, what is the opposite of plus 6, William? Box minus 6. Okay. Okay, so let's write the inverse. F inverse of x is equal to x plus 2 over negative 3. raised to the 4th power minus 6. And there we go. Easy peasy. Okay, so we're going to stop here. This is where I had to stop my last class because we ran out of time. So what I'm going to have you